Ticketmaster has lost, not gained, market share since the merger. And as I mentioned, today's competitive bidding process with numerous credible alternative ticketing companies resulting in getting less of the economic value in a ticketing contract every year. There are problems in the ticketing industry, problems we believe can and should be addressed through legislation. Many are the direct result of industrial-scale ticket scalping that goes on today. The recent on-sale experience with Taylor Swift, one of the world's most popular artists, has highlighted the need to address these issues urgently. We knew bots would attack that on-sale and planned accordingly. We were then hit with 3 times the amount of bot traffic that we'd ever experienced. And for the first time in 400 verified fan on-sales, they came after our verified fan password servers as well. While the bots failed to penetrate our systems or acquire any tickets, the attack requires to slow down and even pause our sales. This is what led to a terrible consumer experience, which we deeply regret. We apologize to the fans. We apologize to Ms. Swift. We need to do better, and we will do better. There are many things we can and should accomplish together. We should enlarge the scope of the BOTS Act and increase enforcement. We should enact categorical prohibitions on fraudulent ticket practices, including deceptive URLs and offering for sale tickets before they're on sale in the primary. We should mandate all-in pricing so that fans see the full cost of their tickets from the start. We share your goal of making live entertainment industry better for artists, teams, and fans alike, and it's in that spirit that I sit before you today, to work with you to make the fan experience better.
It is no mystery why no other company has significantly penetrated the primary ticketing market. Major venues in the US know that if they move their primary ticketing business from Ticketmaster, they risk losing revenue they earn from Live Nation concerts. They know this because Live Nation has told them so, directly and indirectly, through its public pronouncements, private communications, and subsequent retaliation against venues that have signed deals with a competitor. Our industry provides a cautionary tale about how behavioral remedies cannot solve the problems inherent in an anti-competitive merger. The only effective remedy now is a structural one: the dissolution of the common ownership of Ticketmaster and Live Nation. To improve our industry, we must restore competition. At SeatGeek, we deeply care about the live event industry and believe it's time to give fans, teams, artists, and venues alike the choices they deserve.
Every time that Live Nation or Ticketmaster blames anybody else for the significant issues and increasingly high fees, remember that many times they are the venue, the promoter, and the manager of that artist. By controlling ticketing and promotion, the artist management company, they're choking off competition that would offer an alternative to the broken system we see today. This was most acutely seen in Taylor Swift, and it's playing out across the live music industry every day and generating fan outrage and despair.
Of the $42 a fan spent on a ticket, we received 12. But whereas Live Nation's costs were already covered at this point in the calculation, we still need to pay for our touring costs. In our case, roughly 50% of our earnings is used to cover expenses. So that leaves us with $6 for an 8-piece band, pre-tax, and we also have to pay our own health insurance. Jokes aside, we truly do not see Live Nation as the enemy. They're just the largest player in a game that feels stacked against us as artists, and often our fans as well. Ultimately, when looking at the current state of the industry, we're left with lots of questions. Why is it that all of Live Nation's costs get recouped before the show hits its profit point, yet ours, the artists, don't? Why is there so little transparency as to what line items such as facility fees actually go towards? Why is it standard for Live Nation to take a 20% commission on our merchandise sales while we never receive a cent of their ancillary revenues like concessions, alcohol, and parking?
Lawrence, I'm going to stick with you for a minute because you made it clear that you do not set the ticket price. And Mr. Berchtold said he doesn't have anything to do with the ticket price. Who does set the ticket price?
That's an excellent question. That was actually the thing I was most surprised to hear in Mr. Berchtold's speech, because we definitely have absolutely no say. And if we actually ask the venues in advance, which we often do, they say that's a Ticketmaster thing. So the fees, I mean, we actually do set, the ticket prices, the base price. the artist does have a say in setting for sure. But those added Ticketmaster service fees, we have absolutely no say, and the venues claim that it's a Ticketmaster
Mr.
thing.
Berchtold, you want to add anything to that?
Thank you. Yes, as Mr. Lawrence said, the band sets the ticket price. The service fee level is set by the venue.
And you control the venue,
In
do you not?
of approximately
Live Nation?
4,000 venues in the United States per Pollstar, Live Nation operates approximately 200, so roughly 5% of the venues in
Are
the
they the
country.
biggest?
No, sir, they're generally not the biggest. The biggest tend to be the sports venues, the arenas, the stadiums controlled by the sports teams or the owners of the sports teams.
Next up, Senator Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Fact that Ticketmaster has 80% of major venues contracts in the U.S.
It is absolutely our policy to not pressure, threaten, or retaliate against venues by using content as part of the ticketing discussion.
Mr. Michelson, have you seen Live Nation leveraging its power as the leading concert promoter to pressure venues to use Ticketmaster for primary ticketing? How are they able to do that?
When speaking with people that either own or manage venues, their biggest fear is if they leave Ticketmaster, they will lose content. So whether it's said or not, it's implied that if I don't use Ticketmaster, I am not gonna get all the shows that I would like to have.
Get it?
Is it accurate to say that at the time of the merger, Live Nation was an emerging nascent competitor and likely a very capable potential competitor?
I would say, Senator, that Live Nation at the time was finding that it was very difficult to build its own ticketing system. That one of the driving motivations to the Ticketmaster merger was the feeling that it wasn't going to successfully build its own system, and it sought to find one that could more effectively serve its needs of selling tickets for fans.
Yeah.
Do you agree that the ticketing market was more competitive when Ticketmaster was competing with Live Nation as separate companies?
Certainly, and especially where you have a potential new entrant that's showing the ability to increase its market share rapidly and with great success. That's precisely the kind of pressure that you would want to have on a dominant player to make sure that they act in a competitive fashion. The loss of that is the loss of competition.
Acknowledge that it is the standard practice of venues in the United States who own ticketing rights to maximize the value of the ticketing rights they own by having long-term exclusive agreements with primary ticketing companies. Those ticketing contracts tend to last 3 to 5 years on average.
Did these type of exclusive contracts, do they shut out competitors? To me, like, if you can't go to anyone else, what are you going to do?
Exactly. And I think it's a standard given in antitrust law that the longer the exclusivity in a contract, the greater the risk of a competitive effect. And the fact that they're able to get this length of contract indicates something about their market power.
We'll go to a prospective client. We will show them our technology. They'll get excited. They'll get excited about how it's going to make the experience better for their fans and allow them to run their business better. And then they'll start to think about the concert threat, and they'll talk, and discussions will often close at that point because they've heard or been explicitly threatened in a way that they know they will lose concerts if they move away from Ticketmaster. In response to some of the oversight and poking that has happened recently, we've seen Ticketmaster moving from 5 years, which used to be the standard length for a contract in our industry, to 10 in many cases. They're trying to lock things down so that if there is more pressure, they've at least signed a lot of these decade-long deals. So there's not a lot of time. If we want competition in this industry, it is already going to be very hard to change. Longer contracts make that even harder, and that is what they've been pushing for recently.
Exactly. Next up, we have Senator Kennedy and then Senator Hirono.
We apologize to the fans. We apologize to Ms. Swift. We need to do better, and we will do better. In hindsight, there are several things we could have done better. And let me be clear, the Ticketmaster accepts its responsibility as being the first line of defense against bots in our industry. It's an ever-escalating arms race.
Fresh out of college and starting a career in policy, I dreamt of one day testifying before the United States Senate on an issue of profound importance, maybe international monetary policy or perhaps a Supreme Court nomination. But as my 14 and 13-year-old daughters informed me last night, Dad, nothing you speak on in your career will be as important as what you say today. Don't mess this up. Because I'm an employee of a nonprofit organization, I drive a 15-year-old Volvo with 200,000 miles on it. God bless the Swedes. I purchased it from a private seller in 2015, and much to my kids' dismay, it's still going strong. Volvo didn't place a single restriction on the automobile when I purchased it, and if and when I decide to sell it, they'll likely have no role in the transaction. In fact, I don't think they have a clue what's happened to the car since it left their dealership. This is true for just about every auto manufacturer. Consequently, our auto market is a robust, thriving, and diverse industry largely adhering to the forces of supply and demand. The same could be the case for the market governing the selling, marketing, and resale of tickets to sports, competitions, and concerts. It could be, but it has not occurred. From our perspective, the issue isn't the Taylor Swift crash per se. That merely revealed how a lack of competition over time has corroded innovation and distorted the market. I would ask, suppose a robust, vibrant, and competitive market for ticketing had been allowed to evolve and innovate over the last 20 years. Would the Taylor Swift crash have occurred? It's a hypothetical, of course, but absolutely one worth considering.